Okay, welcome in everyone. Please let me know if you hear me okay. Please let me know if I'm sounding all right enough, and we'll get started. Welcome to everyone in the chat. Thanks for being in that chat. And everyone lurking, welcome to the lurk. Join the chat if you feel so inclined. So what's up? We're going to say hello to, real quick, to the ladies here. Diamond Eyes, Carol, Kayla, Tracy Fleetwood, Carol, did I already say Carol, Lisa, and then we got Bobby Smith, Frenchie 6290, Phoenix, Chevy Killer, Crystal Blue Persuasion, and hey, everyone else who's in here, greetings to you, and greetings to you, Kenneth. Kenneth is here. All right. So I'm not going to waste much time because we have a lot to get to. There's a lot more than I intended to present tonight because we had a last minute development. And so we're going to take a look at that first. And hopefully you've already seen the community page because I put the real meat there. And let's get started here. So welcome in, Sandy D. What's up? I'll put you up here. All right, and what's up, Sunflower Soul? So today we had a surprise filing by the defense for Richard Allen, as you may or may not know. But this is another heavy hitter, contrary to the opinion of 99% of the troll farm and the people who do not do much thinking. And by that, I mean they like to discount important information so that they can continue to push their narrative. But they will not like this one. Okay, they will not like this one, which is the memorandum of law in support of admission of evidence and alternative theories of the crime and third-party perpetrators. Now, let me just say, my own opinion being that I believe that there are possibly other third-party perpetrators who are not named here in this particular document. But hey, you got to start somewhere. So with that said, I will also remind you that yesterday I posted a community post from the defendant's supplemental submission regarding the state's motion in limine, which is filed on August 13th, just a few days ago, a couple days ago. And on this particular document, there were two particular heavy-hitting statements, and I'll read them. And that's at different times during the hearing, the state of Indiana prosecutor Nicholas McClellan spoke the following words as it relates to the potential for third-party culpability. Remember, this is coming from Nick McClelland himself. Quote, "This is still a very ongoing investigation. Our goal is to find anyone else who was involved in this heinous crime. That is the public interest, to find anybody else involved and get justice for Abby and Libby." Okay, then we have, quote, again, quoting Nicholas McClellan, "We have good reason to believe that Richard Allen is not the only person involved in this case, that there may be other actors involved. That's why we left the tip line open. That's why we left the tip email open. The question becomes, at least in the state's mind, is it more important to release the details of the investigation to the public, or more important to keep those confidential in order for the investigation to continue and find anyone else that's responsible?" Okay, that's Nicholas McClellan. And another one, "It puts the investigation in the best position possible to determine if anyone else was involved. It is in the best interest of the public that the investigation find anyone else involved." Then we have another section involving Holman's letter. Okay, In pertinent part, Detective Holman's letters sought the sealing of the records for many reasons, one being the investigation is ongoing and fluid. And also, the exhibit created by investigator Mullins cited that the matter was still being actively investigated, quote. Investigator Mullen went on to state that law enforcement was continuing, this is quote, continuing to search and seek facts and information relating to Richard Allen and other potential suspects. In this context, Investigator Mullen was concerned that the integrity of the investigation would be jeopardized if the content of the investigative documents were released to the public. Okay, and I posted that, and again, that's from the defendant's supplemental submission regarding state's motion in limine, filed a couple days ago. And then today we have this document here, which we're going to quickly try to get to. Just one moment, please. Thank you for that. I'm trying to hit this coffee up. All right, so let's get into this because this is very important. And as I mentioned, I did make a weird posting on my community page with some highlights from this document, um, including some, well, we'll get to it. Okay, Mr. Allen has a constitutional right under the 6th and 14th Amendments to present evidence attacking the credibility of the prosecution's case, undermining the believability of the prosecution's witnesses, which they'll do that for themselves, identifying third-party suspects, and establishing Mr. Allen's theory of the case. This right is the cornerstone of the adversarial process and essential to a fundamentally fair trial. And denial of this right constitutes structural error. Okay, this right is accomplished through the right to offer testimony of witnesses and compel their attendance at trial. And again, we're kind of racing through this because it's a lot, and I had a whole other batch of material to cover tonight. So, just as an accused has the right to confront the prosecution's witnesses for the purpose of challenging their testimony, he has the right to present his own witnesses to establish a defense. This right is a fundamental element of due process law, which Carroll County does not seem to really believe in. When the prosecution seeks to prevent an accused the opportunity to present other versions or possibilities regarding the alleged crime, either through cross-examination or his own witnesses and exhibits, they are urging the trial court to commit not only an evidentiary error, but a constitutional error from which prejudice is presumed. Okay? Similarly, the exclusion of evidence tending to show that someone other than the accused committed the charged crime is inconsistent with substantial justice and therefore cannot be deemed a harmless error. Thus, the question becomes what type of evidence is so critical and unique to Mr. Allen's defense that the U.S. Constitution and the Indiana Constitution, above and beyond the Indiana rules of evidence, require its admission. The Indiana courts have answered that question by reversing cases when the excluded evidence challenged the credibility of the state's investigation and witnesses, presented an alternative, exculpatory explanation of the state's evidence, or showed that someone else could have committed the crime. Now, that's a big one. Okay, that's what all of this hinges on, in my opinion. At the hearing on the prosecution's motion in limine, Mr. Allen presented evidence that the murderers of Abigail Williams and Liberty German have ties to Odinism and were ritualistic, at least one of them. Mr. Allen also presented evidence that third parties are linked to the murders. The prosecution seeks to exclude evidence of third-party motive that is not relevant or of probative value outweighed by unfair prejudice, confusion of the issues, or has put the potential to mislead the jury in violation of Rule 101. Let me see if I can just quickly pull this up for you again. I don't know, maybe not. I don't think it's worth fussing over, so I'll continue. Prosecution further requests an order to exclude testimony or evidence concerning, now this is the big one, Odinism, cult or ritualistic killings, Brad Holder, Patrick Westphal, Johnny Messer, Elvis Fields, Ned Smith, Rod Abrams, Keegan Klein, Tony Klein, Ron Logan, okay, and Ron Logan, all of these. The prosecution also is seeking to exclude what we have come to refer to as the Todd Click Report. The Click Report, the prosecution's request seeks to limit Mr. Allen's ability to present a defense, and if granted, will violate Mr. Allen's rights pursuant to the 6th and 14th Amendments to the U.S. Constitution and Article 1, Sections 12 and 13 of the Indiana Constitution. All right? The fact is, Mr. Allen is entitled to present evidence pursuant to the 6th and 14th Amendments to the U.S. Constitution. Article 1, Section 12 and 13 of the Indiana Constitution, that the crime has elements of Odinism and ritualistic killings. And remember, we have experts who deem such. So how can the judge or the court, quote unquote, deny when we have an expert and depositions from other involved investigators which deem that there are elements of Odinism, Norse paganism, and possibly ritualistic killings? The 6th and 14th Amendments of the U.S. Constitution and Article 1, Section 12 of the Indiana Constitution demand that the jury hear all versions and possibilities regarding the alleged crime. Okay? The state cannot take advantage of the inculpatory conclusion but prohibit the defendant from placing the exculpatory conclusion before the jury. In this case, the prosecution argues that Richard Allen, sorry, I appear to have failed to turn the page for you guys, but here we go. Prosecution argues that Richard Allen, acting alone, killed Abigail Williams and Liberty German. It's what I term the false tableau, and we'll be discussing that further in the future. However, the evidence from the location where the bodies were found strongly suggests that more than one person was responsible for these murders. Former ISP Detective Kevin Murphy testified that it was always the belief of law enforcement that there were between 2 to 6 people involved in the murders. Can someone please put that in the chat? 2 to 6 involved in the murders. Okay, this is ISP Detective Kevin Murphy testifying that it was always the belief of law enforcement that there were between 2 to 6 people involved. If the prosecution's argument is that Allen acted alone, which we call the lone wolf fantasy world troll farm prosecution shill narrative, then who are the additional people involved in killing Abigail Williams and Liberty German? Family members? Are they Odinists? Are they friends? Are they Vinlanders? Who are they, and why are they not being prosecuted? Why is the state attempting to exclude any mention of any of them in the trial? The answer is that there are third-party suspects who have not been charged and who have no ties to Richard Allen, allegedly. There may be ties. We'll be getting to that in the future as well. This leads to the conclusion that Richard Allen is innocent, at least as far as the defense believes, and that other individuals acting together killed Abigail Williams and Liberty German. Or that Richard Allen and 1 to 5 others, okay? Because let's not say Richard Allen is totally innocent here on this channel, because we do not know. But we do know this. Law enforcement has always believed it was between 2 to 6 people. Richard Allen is only 1. So let's be sober. Let's wise up here and put our reality hats on. Okay? Dr. Dawn Perlmutter, the director of Symbol Intelligence Group and adjunct professor of forensic medicine at the Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine, and who trains federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies, testified that the murders were committed by individuals with ties to racist Odinism, sometimes known as Asatru. Odinism and Asatru are polytheistic ideologies involving the worship of Nordic pagan gods, including Odin and Thor. These ideologies are nature-based ideologies, and their rituals generally take place outdoors. They incorporate natural elements and are typically performed near bodies of water. Both ideologies incorporate the use of runes, which are marks of mysterious or magical power. Runes take an additional magical power when charged by blood, or when two or more single runes are coupled together to create a bind rune. Both ideologies also incorporate magical thinking. Dr. Perlmutter further testified that while Odinists have generally shared symbols, such as Odin's hammer, as they splinter off and form different kindreds, they often develop their own symbols and rituals, and especially through the use of bind runes. Okay, social media has been a large part of this development, as it allows individual access to a wide range of interpretations, symbols, information, and ideas related to Asatru and Odinism. Okay. Dr. Perlmutter testified that the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German meet all of the elements of a ritualistic killing. Do I need to repeat that for you in the back? Remember Liberato, or Libretto, as Pete likes to call himself. Mr. Libretto, I believe, said that one girl was killed and one was sacrificed. Okay, I've always said one was accidentally injured and then one was intentionally murdered. A decision was made. Dr. Perlmutter testified that this was a textbook ritual killing. The elements of a ritualistic killing include the location of the crime, okay? She testified that Odinism and Asatru are nature-based. These murders took place outdoors, in a clearing, in a wooded area, near a body of water. She testified that Odinism and Asatru clearings, clearings can be the location of a sacred circle where rituals and sacrifices take place. She further testified that it is important that the murders took place near a body of water, as water is often used for purification. Prior to rituals or sacrifices. Well, would it make sense if Abby Williams was killed first, that she was possibly washed to be purified before Libby German was then sacrificed? Doesn't it make sense? Doesn't it explain how her body became cleaned after her murder? Date of death. Now here's an important one. Frenchie, put your tinfoil hat on, and everyone else, please listen closely. Dr. Perlmutter testified that often rituals and sacrifices take place on important dates. She testified that the Vallis Blot is a sacrificial feast honoring Odin's son Vallis. This begins at sundown on February 13th and ends at sunup on February 14th. Liberty German and Abigail Williams disappeared, allegedly, on February 13th, possibly 24 hours before that. They were found, allegedly, on February 14th, 2017. Let me ask you this. February 13, sundown. Were our girls missing then? Let me ask you this. February 14th, sun up. Did one of our girls' phones magically turn on after being off since sundown. Cause of death. Dr. Perlmutter testified that ritualistic crimes are most often committed by a sharp force injury to the neck, and that slitting the throat is indicative of sacrifice and an initiation ritual. Both girls were killed in this manner. Now here's a heavy hitter. Murder weapon. Dr. Perlmutter testified that ritualistic crimes are often committed with ceremonial knives. This one for the morons in the back who want to discuss box cutters. Okay, this is for all you box cutter morons in the back. The weapon used to kill the girls was a knife. Autopsy reports of Roland Core. Symbols at the crime scene. Dr. Perlmutter testified that in ritualistic killings, symbols, including runes, are often left at the scene. In this instance, there is what can be interpreted as a Lagus rune, painted or transferred to a tree with Liberty German's blood. That's right. Contrary to the opinion of the fucking idiots and the troll farm, no, Libby German did not touch the tree and magically leave a rune with right angles and straight lines. Perhaps you have to be shown again what definitely did not happen. Does this look like a handprint smudge to you? I don't know about you, but I've never seen a smudge or a handprint that looked anything like this. This looks extremely intentional, definitely human created, and is consisting of right angles and straight lines. This is not a hand smudge. This tree is located near the area where the girls' bodies were ultimately found on the edge of the clearing. Additionally, she testified that the sticks and branches laid on the bodies appeared deliberately and intentionally placed in particular arrangements which would have meaning to the individuals committing the crime. I have another question for you. Have you seen the crime scene photos? It is incumbent upon yourself to view the crime scene photos. Otherwise, you don't know what you're talking about. Dr. Perlmutter testified that the sticks and branches laid on the bodies appeared deliberately and intentionally placed in particular arrangements which would have meaning to the individuals committing the crime. FBI Special Agent Nicole Robertson testified, everyone in the back, put your listening ears on, okay? Little Johnny, turn around, pay attention to the prof. Special Agent of the FBI, Agent Nicole Robertson, testified that when she was searching the home of Ron Logan, she was looking for evidence of runes and anything Nordic due to the placement of sticks on the girls' bodies. And that's from the deposition of Nicole Robertson, page 75. Okay? So for all the retards in the back, let's say it simple way. Nicole Robertson, the FBI special agent who wrote the Ron Logan search warrant affidavit, yes, that Nicole Robertson, who said that the bodies were moved and staged, the girls arrived approximately 1 p.m., also said that she was looking for evidence of runes and anything Nordic due to the placement of the sticks on the dirt on the girls' bodies. And you need to check out the crime scene photos and see them for yourself and wipe all confusion out of your mind. The emails between the FBI and state police Dougie Carter all provide evidence of the belief by law enforcement that the evidence left behind at the crime scene, including the sticks found on the girls, supported the possibility that the killers were Norse pagans. Body disposition. Dr. Perlmutter also testified that in ritualistic killings, bodies are often moved and positioned in a fashion that is not a counter-forensic measure. In other words, that the bodies are moved and positioned in a manner not consistent with someone who is trying to conceal the bodies. She further testified that bodies are often positioned to include the arrangement of natural objects. In paragraph 6, there you go, of her affidavit for probable cause for the search warrant for the home of Ron Logan, FBI Special Agent Nicole Robertson testified that it was her belief that Liberty German and Abigail Williams' bodies had been what? Say it in the back. Say it, choir. Moved and staged. We've known this for a long time. Major Cicero of the LaPorte County Sheriff's Department also testified at the hearing that Liberty German's body was drug around the crime scene and that Abigail Williams was moved from side to side. Additionally, it is evident from the crime scene photo identified as Exhibit FF that sticks and branches were deliberately and intentionally arranged on the bodies. Further, he testified that there were many leaves and sticks in the areas which could have been used to conceal bodies if that was the intent of the killers, but it was not the intent. Okay? As a matter of fact, perhaps we should take a little detour here. For those in the back who don't see too well, think too well, or acknowledge reality, let's take a look at this. Okay? This right here is the stick placement upon the body of Abigail Williams. This right here is the stick placement upon the body of Liberty German. Yes, it is. And I should mention that here, this very large is a very large portion of a tree, okay, which was solely placed to pin down her arm in a raised position, so that if you would exclude that, this is what you would get, okay? Now, additionally, I think you should know that Abigail Williams was posed exactly like this, which is a tarot card in mirror image. And Liberty German was posed exactly like this. Not only that, the hand of Liberty German was almost touching a tree. As you see, he's raising a, what would you call that? A torch. He's raising a torch. Liberty German was touching the tree as if the tree was a torch. What did we just read? Let's put it back up there and read. She further testified that bodies are often positioned to include the arrangement of natural objects. So if she was positioned as if holding a torch and the tree was the torch, okay? And before I continue, since someone is here saying they haven't seen that, let's show this, since this is all we can do because of the morons who won't let us show the actual evidence. Okay, tree, you see the tree here? Tree, holding just like a torch. She's positioned as a magician in a tarot formation, and Abby's positioned as a hanged man. Once again, there you go, magician, hanged man. Sorry. Anyhow, that was our diversion. Now let's continue. Atypical blood pattern. Finally, Mrs. or Miss Perlmutter testified that there is often atypical blood patterns identified in ritualistic killings. She identified the blood pattern on Liberty German's face as an atypical blood pattern. This abnormal blood pattern on Liberty German's face was also identified by Major Cicero. Okay. Let's continue. Mr. Allen has a fundamental right under the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution, the Confrontation Clause of the 6th Amendment of the United States Constitution, and Article 1, Section 13 of the Indiana Constitution to call law enforcement officers as witnesses and to cross-examine them on third-party suspects as the failure to properly investigate or consider third-party suspects undermines the thoroughness of their investigation. The fact that an investigator may have discounted a viable fact or suspect pardon, makes it more probable that the investigation was flawed, whether intentionally or unintentionally, and that Mr. Allen may be innocent, thus meeting the requirements of relevancy under Indiana Rules of Evidence numbers 401 and 402. Mr. Allen also has a fundamental right to impeach the credibility of and present the bias of any witness, including law enforcement. And before we continue, I think it's important that we take a look at this again, because we don't smoke crack here. Mr. Allen has a right to impeach the credibility of and present the bias of any witness. That means anyone on this list here, including David Vito, including Jerry Holman, including Brian Harshman, including Betsy Blair, Sarah Carbo, Rayleigh Voorhees, Bree Wilbur, Tony Liggett, and Jay Harper, including Kelsey German and Dan Doolin. At least we forget. A witness's bias, prejudice, or ulterior motives are always relevant at trial in that they may discredit her or affect the weight of her testimony. Shanholt versus State, 1983. It has been well established that law enforcement, like all humans, can suffer from confirmation bias and tunnel vision. In other words, a detective or officer may search for and interpret evidence in a manner that confirms his or her existing beliefs. In this matter, Mr. Allen's evidence is that law enforcement failed to properly investigate third-party suspects and failed to consider alternative theories of their timeline. Now that's a banger. The timeline, right? In this case, members of Unified Command, which we call the Three Fucking Stooges, failed to follow up on leads and investigations of Assistant Police Chief Todd Click and Indiana State Police Detective Kevin Murphy and FBI agent Greg Ferenczi, such as the failure to perform an extraction of Brad Holder's phone, the failure to investigate the alibi of Pat Westfall or Elvis Fields, and the failure to seek warrants to search the homes of those individuals. Unified Command Clown Show did not consider any fact that did not fall into their timeline, that the girls were murdered between 2:14 and 3:30 p.m. on February 13th. Unified Command failed to investigate why Liberty German cell phone suddenly connected to the cell phone tower at 4:33 a.m. on February 14, after not connecting from 5:44 p.m. on February 13. Remember what I said about sundown to sunup? Was her phone turned off for the ritual? For the holiday? Is that what we're looking at with the phone? ISP Detective Jerry Doughboy Holman testified that there was no evidence that Richard Allen returned to the location where the bodies were found. Okay, something happened at 4:33 a.m. that caused Liberty German's phone to suddenly connect to the cell tower, and it's logical to believe that whatever caused the phone to connect was a result of actions taken by any third-party suspect or suspects. All right. Evidence is relevant when it has any tendency to make the existence of any fact that is of consequence to the determination of the action more probable or less probable than it would be without evidence. Evidence which tends to show that someone else omitted the crime logically makes it less probable that the defendant committed the crime. So we have a typo there. We're supposed to be quoting from Joyner versus State, 1997, which should read, evidence which tends to show that someone else committed the crime logically makes it less probable that the defendant committed the crime. But as I mentioned, it's always possible that all of the above committed the crime. In order for a defendant to admit evidence that a third party is responsible for the crime, the defendant must show some connection between the third party and the crime. When the state excludes competent, reliable evidence that is central to the defendant's case, his constitutional right to present evidence is abridged. Remember, it is not a bunch of whack job YouTube creators who came up with the information on Norse paganist involvement potential in this crime. It is, in fact, three highly respected, well-seasoned, professional law enforcement officers, Ferenczi, Click, and Murphy, who, as a result of a extensive investigation, developed the information that we are now calling the Norse paganist theory of this crime. What I call the white supremacist nut job aspect of this crime. Okay? It's not some whack jobs on YouTube who dream this up out of their wild imagination after watching too many horror movies. It's Greg Ferenczi, Todd Click, and Kevin Murphy, a police chief, a federal agent, and a Indiana State Police detective who had developed the information that we are discussing in this document. Remember that our bias judged in a sweeping fashion has denied any and all Frank's motions, not even seriously considering enough to read thoroughly all of the data that was put together for the Frank's memorandum and the supplements. Indiana courts have found the following evidence to be competent and reliable evidence central to the accused defense that someone else did it. For instance, in Allen versus State, 2004, the defense provided a reconstruction of the crime and testimony that another person made statements linking himself rather than the defendant to the murders, which should have been admitted. In Joyner v. State, 1997, evidence that a married man was having an affair with the victim, worked at the same place as the victim, the defendant had sexual relations with the victim the night before the murder, lied to his wife about his whereabouts, had an argument with the victim on the last day she was seen alive, and lied on his time card at work the day after the murder was admissible. In Rohr v. State, evidence that a prior beating of a child victim by a mother, not defendant, caused the victim's extensive injuries was admissible. In Kuki versus State, 1985, evidence of a newspaper article with a picture of a person wanted in connection with burglaries in the area who resembled the defendant was admissible. Understanding that evidence of third-party suspects is relevant, the question then turns to the standard the court must utilize in determining whether third-party evidence is admissible. Okay? To be admissible in a criminal prosecution, according to the Court of Appeals, evidence that a third party has committed the crime which the defendant is charged need not show substantial proof of a probability that the third person has committed the act. It need only be capable of raising a reasonable doubt of the defender's guilt. While a criminal defendant may present alternative perpetrator evidence at trial in order to cast doubt on the defendant's guilt, the defendant must first lay an evidentiary foundation to establish that the alternative perpetrator evidence has an inherent tendency to connect the alternative perpetrator to the actual commission of the charged crime. And we're going to get into a lot of stuff, okay? A lot of stuff that fulfills this standard or meets this standard. And if you don't already know it, you should, which means you have catching up to do. Now, I'm going to briefly go over these sections here because we don't need to rehash all of this for all of you longtime viewers. We really don't, but I'll briefly go through some of these sections because we're going to touch on some very concerning parts, okay? And like I said, I did post those concerning portions to the community page earlier today. Brad Holder is the father of Logan Holder, Abigail Williams' boyfriend at the time of the murders. Law enforcement identified Brad Holder as a suspect by February 17. 3 days. Okay? 3 days in to these murders, law enforcement identified Brad Holder as a suspect. Law enforcement received several tips that Brad Holder was the man in the video found on Liberty German's cell phone, purportedly taken at the south end of the High Bridge at 2:13 p.m. on February 13. As you know, Brad told several different stories about if he had ever met Abby Williams. His story continuously changed. Okay? Not only that, the most recent version of meeting Abby Williams states that he indeed met her at Pat Westfall's house. Do you think the jury should hear any of the questionable inconsistencies of Brad Holder? Do you think the jury should possibly see any of the photographs of Brad Holder's Facebook? Would you like to see some of the photos of Brad Holder's Facebook? We can make that happen. Let's take a little look, shall we? Let's see. I'm sure you've seen plenty, but I bet you haven't seen all of these. Let's see. I mean, we're doing this on the fly, so give me a moment, but it's not pretty. It's not pretty. And for those who haven't seen this, it's called Fuck Around, Find Out. and you know that. Okay? If you haven't seen this, you should have seen it, which means you haven't done your homework. But perhaps you should see some of what was on Brad Holder's Facebook, because it's kind of eerie. And the question is, should a jury see it? Okay? Here we go. Let's get this together. Let's say, all right. How about this one? Oh, we should remove that. All right. How about this? You see that? All right. How about this one? You see, we're looking at sticks resembling runes. And we can go on and on. We'll go on. We'll go a little further. All right? We'll go a little further. How about this one? All right. How about this one? Okay. How about, I don't know. How about this one? How about this one? How about this one? I mean, you can clearly see here an obsession with the sticks formed into runes. Okay? So I'll bring you back briefly. I'll bring you back. Let's do this. I'll bring you back to this because I don't want you to forget so quickly. Remember what you just saw. All right? Remember what you just saw. And then look. Okay. I think you get the picture. You get the idea. Now, back to this. Richard Allen has a right to have the jury consider the following about Brad Holder's second statement about the how many times he met. You know, maybe they have the right to see the Facebook. Okay. Brad Holder liked a post describing an outdoor sacrifice with a rune painted in human blood on a tree. Brad Holder also posted a picture on Facebook depicting a scene eerily similar to that of the bodies where they were found. Oh, okay. I guess this is going to take forever, but I need to show you that too. Okay. I apologize. Before we move on, I got to show you that one. Okay. Because if I don't, this will not be a thorough presentation. So let's make sure that you see that on this screen. Okay. So we're talking about the Brad Holder mimicking of the crime scene, quote unquote, which I don't feel, to be honest with you, I don't feel this mimics the crime scene. Okay, but it's sort of a similarity, and I think that everyone should see it if you haven't already seen it. Uh, so I will post it here. Let's see. I mean, I will just share it here like I'm doing, because this is the easy way. Remember, I have a lot of stuff here, so it takes me a second to find. But you should see it. Certainly, I should have seen it already. I might have skipped it. So I know not everyone has seen that, and it's a piece of this. Oh, sure, it'd be easier to find, but you need to see it. So just bear with me here. There it is. Okay. Okay. Have you guys seen this? All right. So that's your Brad Holder. That's your Brad Holder post that's been mentioned here. Now let's get on. We're on over to that's what I was just reading about, that he posted a picture depicting a scene eerily similar to that of the bodies of Abby and Libby. Okay. He intentionally inscribed a temporary tattoo on his hand in a pattern similar to the sticks and branches placed on Abigail Williams. Okay. Even ISP detective Kevin Murphy admitted that the sticks placed on Abby Williams' body matched the temporary tattoo that Brad Holder inked onto his hand just a few weeks after the girls were murdered. Okay. Further, Holder then painted and posted a picture of Odin's sacrifice in which the Norse pagan god Odin is hanging upside down. One leg is bent in such a manner that his foot is resting on his calf. The position of Odin's legs in Brad Holder's painting is almost exactly the position in which the killer placed Abigail Williams' legs. And remember, I showed you the hanging man position that she was placed into. All right, so we'll skip ahead. So there's all kind of Brad Holder, and you know that. Okay, you know that there's all the Brad Holder material, and you can download this document and see it for yourself and read through that. Then we have Patrick Westfall. He's connected with Patrick Westfall. Westfall was at home near the High Bridge with his son, Nick. Okay. There's no proof of Westfall's whereabouts on February 13 other than Nick's statement. Brad and Patrick Westfall knew each other from an army deployment in Afghanistan. And I do believe that they were placed in a hospital together in Kentucky prior to the murders. They were members of a small kindred, which is a group of people who believe in Asatru and gather to worship their gods. Patrick Westfall is a priest or holy man in the Asatru white supremacist Nordic pagan religion, and hosted kindreds at his home in Delphi on Sundays. Brad Holder attended those meetings on Sundays. Holder and Westphal attended a pagan ritual videotaped by Holder in 2016 in Fort Wayne, which was entered into evidence. Near the end of the video, Patrick Westphal appears to be marking a tree with his hand. Okay. Dr. Perlmutter testified that the mark was in the form of a rune on the tree. Major Cicero admitted that whoever sliced Liberty German's throat could have Liberty German's blood on their hands. Forensic pathologist, the one who conducted the autopsy, admitted upon slicing Liberty German's neck, the amount of blood and the force of that blood exiting her neck upon slicing it would have been very powerful, squirting as far as 4 to 6 feet, no problem. Therefore, the jury could conclude that upon slicing her neck, the blood forcefully covered the killer's hand, who then used that blood to mark the tree. Okay. Amber Holder testified that Brad Holder stated that Patrick Westphal wanted to elevate from animal to human sacrifice. Furthermore, Pat Westphal acknowledges that as a true worship takes place in a clearing in the forest. Okay. Remember that Brad Holder also described to Amber Holder that he and Patrick Westphal had a breakup or falling out over a ritual that went bad in the woods. Okay. Perlmutter testified that sacrifices are almost always carried out by slitting the throat. And furthermore, that practitioners often begin with animal sacrifices. Elvis Fields. Elvis Fields is a suspect in the case who was investigated by law enforcement. Okay. There's no doubt that Elvis knew of the existence of Brad Holder. He mimicked his Facebook obsessively. Okay. Detective Kevin Murphy testified that Brad Holder can be linked to Elvis Fields through Facebook posts, and that Elvis Fields' Facebook posts mimicked those of Brad Holder. You just saw some of Brad Holder's. Elvis Fields testified in his deposition that Brad Holder frequently mimicked his Facebook posts, where he posted pictures of knives, brass knuckles, sticks in the woods, and other items. It's a logical conclusion that Brad knew Elvis Fields in some manner. If he was mimicking Elvis Fields' Facebook posts, it would be exceedingly rare for a stranger to follow someone's posts, and even more rare to mimic them, especially when both were suspects in the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. Todd Click testified that Elvis Fields was a suspect or accomplice in the murders and that he was interviewed several times by law enforcement. After one such interview, in which law enforcement collected a buccal swab from Elvis Fields, Detective Kevin Murphy drove Elvis home. Detective Murphy testified that after Elvis got out of his car, he returned and asked Detective Murphy if his spit was found on one of the girls, but he could explain it away, would he still be in trouble? Elvis lived in Rushville. He testified he was at home in Rushville on February 13th. He denied ever being in Delphi. If he spits on one of the girls, however, this places him in Delphi at or around the time of the murders. Elvis's statement is admissible in court pursuant to IRE 803, Section 3, then existing mental, emotional, or physical condition. Under this rule, a statement of the declarant's then existing state of mind or emotional, sensory, or physical condition is admissible as an exception to the hearsay rule. Elvis's statement is clearly indicative of a guilty state of mind and indicates he has a mental feeling of anxiousness over his conduct and the possible ramifications. Additionally, Elvis denied making the statement to Detective Murphy. It is expected that Elvis will continue to deny asking the question at trial, thus making it proper impeachment evidence. This statement is also impeachment evidence contradicting Elvis's statement that he was never in Delphi. Finally, his question to Detective Murphy was precisely a question that hearsay is a statement. His statement was precisely that. Hearsay is a statement that is not made by the declarant while testifying at a trial hearing and offered into evidence to prove the truth or a matter asserted. A statement is a person's oral assertion, written assertion, or nonverbal conduct if the person intended it as an assertion. Okay? Rod Abrams is a friend of Elvis Fields. In his statement to the police, Rod Abrams testified and stated that at the time of the murders, Ned Smith drove a white pickup and that sometimes Elvis drove a white pickup. Tina Garrison saw a white pickup truck parked at the old CPS building at approximately 4:20 on the day of the murders. Tina Garrison report, this Tina Garrison report was tendered near the end of the day as an exhibit on August 1st, 2024. Given that both Elvis and his friend Ned Smith drove white pickups, this potentially places them in Delphi or near the scene of the murders on February 13th, 2017. Detective Kevin Murphy also testified that an analysis of Elvis Fields' cell phone records established that Elvis used his phone often throughout a typical day. Strikingly, Detective Murphy testified that on February 13th, 2017, Elvis did not use his phone between roughly 10:30 a.m. and 7:30 p.m. So, a regular user of his phone. The anomaly is that on the day of the murders, he doesn't use the phone. Is it because he left it at home? All right. I'll skip to Johnny Messer. Okay, we're going to page 22 if you're following along. Johnny Messer, a former Rushville resident, is also a suspect in the case who connects the Logansport Delphi crew of Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall to the Rushville crew of Elvis Fields, Rod Abrams, and Ned Smith in Rushville. There are pictures on social media of Brad Holder, Patrick Westfall, and Johnny Messer together at an Odinist gathering. That connects them. Hello, end of story. That photo was admitted into evidence on August 1st. Both Kevin Murphy and Todd Click testified as to the connection between them all. Okay? Westfall and Messer were all associated with the Vinlanders. Okay? A club for whites, or Europeans, as Patrick Westfall calls them. Johnny Messer was a probate with the Vinlanders. Murphy and Click testified that the Vinlanders engaged in Asatru, worshipped gods such as Odin and Thor, and were Odinists. Johnny Messer confirmed that most members of the Vinlanders were into Odinism. Patrick Westfall and Johnny Messer traveled to Minnesota together for a Vinlander event. Johnny Messer's uncle is Billy Messer. Elvis Fields previously lived with Johnny Messer's uncle Billy Messer in Rushville. However, one of the most important aspects of Johnny Messer's evidence is Messer's role as a recruiter in the Vinlanders. According to Click, Messer denied recruiting members for the Vinlanders. However, Click also testified that he had interviewed multiple men who admitted that Messer had recruited them to join the Vinlanders. Okay. Messer's denial of being a recruiter, juxtaposed against Click's investigation, revealing that he actually was a recruiter, would indicate that Messer felt he had something to hide in the connection to recruiting for the Vinlanders. The obvious answer as to what that might be would be that Messer was a recruiter that hooked Elvis Fields up with Brad Holder. Messer knew both Holder and Fields, but Fields denied knowing Messer. The fact that Messer's former girlfriend, Taylor Hornady, told Kevin Murphy that around Valentine's Day in 2017, that's our day, that Messer was up there visiting Vinlander friends, Westfall and Holder, and that a red substance she believed was blood was found all over the car he drove up there. Okay? Remember that? That it took several washes and attempts to get that dry blood off the car? Now, here we get to some heavy-hitting shit. Okay, so you guys get ready. Keegan Kline and Tony Kline. Keegan Kline is the son of Tony Kline. He was 22 years old at the time of the murders. He and Jerry lived in Peru. Vito testified that Keegan Kline was communicating with Libby German using a fake Snapchat account under the username Anthony_shots. in the days leading up to the murders. Now, this is a special message for all you dickheads who want to assert that the Kleins have no connection to Delphi. We will be disclosing things that we have not disclosed yet. Okay, there's a lot. Some of you may not be happy with me. I have nothing to do with that. However, here's a taste. Here's an important piece that we have previously disclosed. And thanks to Mr. Noe Amos, who was housed with Keegan Kline in the same cell block, and who 2 years ago revealed to me this fact that David Vito is attesting to, that Keegan Kline admitted to driving to Delphi with his father, Tony Kline, on February 13th, 2017, the day of the fucking murders. And that Keegan waited in the vehicle. He actually told Noe a car. He waited in a car while Tony Kline went into the woods in the area where Abigail Williams and Liberty German's bodies were ultimately found. Keegan also told Noe that that Ron Logan was a friend of the family. Keegan also told Noe that when Tony Kline returned to the vehicle, he said, "We had fun." Detective Vito testified that Keegan Kline stated that when Tony Kline returned to the vehicle, he had blood on him. Roland Purdy further testified that Keegan Kline admitted that they discarded a knife in a river when they were driving home. And you're going to find out when I show you that the wrong area was searched. All of this evidence creates an inference that Keegan and Tony Kline may have murdered or participated in the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. And an aside, I forgot to mention that Keegan Kline also told Noe Amos that Tony killed the girls, but all he did was help move the bodies. Yes. It's quite a rich story from Tony Kline. From Keegan Kline. Don't you think that the jury should be able to hear what Keegan Kline attested to? Not just to Noe, but to many of the individuals in that cell block, and directly to David Vito. Not only that, you should also be aware that Noe Amos himself also spoke with David Vito and revealed all of this information. So David Vito had it straight from the horse's mouth, and it was corroborated by Noe Amos. There's no reason that David Vito can claim ignorance of this story. Ron Logan. The bodies of Abigail Williams and Liberty German were located on February 14th on the property of Ron Logan. Ron Logan lied to law enforcement about his whereabouts on February 13th. Ron Logan's physical build is consistent with that of the individual in the video captured on Liberty's phone. As a matter of fact, it may be Ron Logan in the video on Liberty's phone. It sure does look like it. His voice is consistent with that of the voice in the audio. There are many whose voices match that voice. Much like the facts in Allen, the evidence that third parties killed the girls in this matter is exculpatory, unique, and critical to Mr. Allen's defense. The crime scene included many findings that the killers practiced as a true, and that it was a ritualistic crime scene. To be exculpatory, evidence must clear or tend to clear Mr. Allen of alleged fault or guilt. Simply put, if someone else committed the crimes, Richard Allen may have not. Okay? Now, let's continue to skip ahead because I don't want to be all day. We have other material to present. In the context of third-party motive evidence, an accused must show some connection between the third party and the crime before the evidence is admissible. In this case, the prosecution has no proof of any connection of Mr. Allen to Abigail Williams or Liberty German. nor have they identified any motive as to why Mr. Allen would kill them. There's absolutely no evidence as to Mr. Allen's motive to commit the crime. What does exist, however, is the motive on the part of Patrick Westphal, Brad Holder, and others to kill Abby William and Liberty German. Brad Holder knew Abigail Williams, and his son was dating her at the time of the murders, and he supervised them on at least 2 dates, one of which was Patrick Westphal's house. Patrick Westphal participated in animal sacrifices. He wanted to move up to human sacrifices, as the true sacrifices are carried out in order to provide the offender with power through runes, power through blood, power through binding runes, and all of which were present are present at the location where the bodies were found. This provides motive for Brad Holder and Patrick Westphal to murder Abigail Williams and Liberty German as part of an as a true Odinist sacrifice. Also, before we leave the document, there's a little rumor here that the girls were bound. Okay, have you seen any evidence yet that the girls were bound? Neither have I, but I heard it from a little birdie that the girls exhibited the evidence of having been bound. All right. And that covers our document for today. And that was filed today. And I want to mention again, that is an excellent, excellent document. To think that we live in the United States of America where such great attorneys can be provided to an accused free of charge. God bless the public defenders. The public defenders literally doing God's work. Excellent work such as this. Free of charge to the defendant, Mr. Richard Allen. I must say I was highly impressed by this document today. Again, this is the memorandum of law in support of admission of evidence and or of alternative theories of the crime and third-party perpetrators. Now remember what you just heard, because I know it was a lot. What you just heard was that the date matches up with Vallesblot, a sacrificial feast day, which is sundown on the 13th to sunup on the 14th. The phone of the victim magically appears to have been turned off at sundown and on at sunup, approximately. Cause of slitting of the throat matching a ritual. The weapon used to kill the girls was a knife, which is often used for ritualistic crimes. Symbols at the crime scene. FBI Special Agent Nicole Robertson testified that when she was searching Ron Logan's home, she was looking for evidence of runes in Ron Logan's home and anything Nordic due to the placement of the sticks on the bodies. Remember, you also heard about the body disposition and that the bodies were moved and staged, as we've always known, because of the Ron Logan search warrant affidavit. Sticks and branches were deliberately arranged on the bodies. I just showed you the photos of the literal sticks that were on those bodies. Atypical blood pattern. Both Major Cicero and Miss Perlmutter both acknowledged that the marking in blood on Liberty German's face was an atypical blood pattern. I showed you the tree. I showed you that it's absolutely 100% reality that mark, this one right here on this tree, was made by a human hand intentionally. This is not a smudge. This is not an accident. This is not falling down holding onto the tree. This is a marking on a tree. Now, what does the marking mean? Well, that's open to interpretation, isn't it? Also heard about Keegan Klein and Tony Klein and their trip, which Keegan admitted to driving to Delphi, Indiana on February 13th with Tony Klein, and that Keegan waited in the vehicle while Tony went into the woods where the bodies were found. That on a family friend's property. Mr. Ron Logan Vito testified that Keegan Klein stated that when Tony Klein returned, he was full of blood or had blood on him. Noe Amos declares that he said, quote, "We had fun," and that Keegan said, I only helped move the bodies. Okay. Roland Purdy testified that Keegan admitted that they discarded a knife and possibly a phone in a river. Now, where? We'll be discussing that later. And you saw that Ron Logan somewhat matches the physical build of the individual on the infamous alleged video from, or purported video from Liberty German's phone. Okay, so now here's where it gets fun. Okay, because we have not had a chance yet to cover what was supposed to be covered tonight, which was our weird stuff. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna make it quick. All right. So what you're looking at here, last time that we left off at Delphi Weird Stuff, part 24. Okay, pardon me. So here you're looking at Delphi Weird Stuff, part 25. Okay, so we're going to continue here. We're going to cover several until we reach our time limit, but this is a very interesting post here in case you haven't seen it. This is from the Herald Journal, April 11th, 2022. Okay, so all you guys who are researchers, remember, Herald Journal, April 11 of 2022, Delphi Weird Stuff, part 25. Okay, so we'll get to this, and I'll read it for you because it's a lot to read. You may not be able to see it on your screen. All right, this says that investigators working on the 2017 double homicides of 2 teenage girls in Delphi are asking the public for more help. Okay. According to the Indiana State Police, the Delphi Double Homicide Task Force working on searching for the killer of Liberty German and Abigail Williams is searching for people who may have communicated with the profile Anthony_Shots on a social media app called Yellow, which is now currently known as Yubo. Earlier this year, investigators asked people to come forward with information about the deaths of 13-year-old Williams and 14-year-old German, who went missing February 13, 2017, while walking on the Monon High Bridge Trail in Delphi. Their bodies were found the next day. Despite a video and voice recording of the alleged suspect, ISP Superintendent Dougie Carter has said that they have been unable to get that final piece of the puzzle to move forward with the case. Dubbed as Tinder for Teens, Yubo, or Yellow, is a social media app which lets teenagers interact with one another. The app has more than 20 million users worldwide and was created by 3 French engineering students. Yubo allows teens to find new friends by swiping left or right to connect and live stream, similar to Tinder. The change of name and new safety features enables app users to communicate with whomever they want by simply swiping and chatting. The app is suitable for Apple and Android smartphones and is free to use. There's a minimum age limit of 13 on Yubo, and anyone under 17 who sets up a profile has to confirm they have the permission of a parent or guardian. But this is after the murders. This is recent. You see, you got to be careful when you read this stuff. Remember, this is from 2022. These are the new rules. These were not the rules in 2017. Now, police want people who have communicated with the profile to come forward. They also want to know when, how, and on which form of social media was used to communicate with Anthony_Shots, and if anyone was asked for a meeting or anyone attempted to obtain a home address. Investigators would also like to obtain all saved images and conversations with the Anthony_Shots profile. Police have not publicly established a link between the Delphi homicides and Klein, despite a search warrant that was executed on Klein about 11 days after Williams' German bodies were found. Okay. Now, Herald Journal, Herald Journal. I can't speak. Delphi Weird Stuff, Part 25. The thing is, the riddles and tentacles, Shaq and Snapchat, murders, Yubo. We know so much about you. New technology, new sketch, who surely is accurately BG, and why not? Then drops Richard Allen out of thin air. They knew nothing about him prior to September. He has no tentacles, no shack, no apparent religion, no communications with the girls, 5'4", like the girls, no curls, not 20-year-old, not 30-year-old, not 40-year-old, but 45. But he did have genes. So either it's not Richard Allen or Doug Carter was full of bull. Okay, and that's your Yubo. That's yellow. Now, since we're speaking of Yubo, let's back up one notch. Right here. Delphi Weird, Part 24. This is a conversation between Robert Fortson and Rick Snay. Robert Fortson, I can't show crime scene pics. There were 3, and they were discovered online. They were shown through the Yellow app across seas and in Georgia. I wish I could be your source, but unfortunately I'm tired of being threatened. Robert Fortson, I knew it over 2 weeks ago. I can't tell my source just like you can't. I'm not trying to take anything away from you. This is not a competition to me. You were definitely partially correct, but not quite a backwards F. If the parts that make up the lines to the F are not straight, a backwards anything in Odinism means the opposite of. But there were 3 left. And when the symbols and blood were uploaded online, and then the symbols and blood were uploaded online in a very evil, dark place. I wish I could share who and show pictures, but I had to earn my source's respect. I can't lose it, but you are very close. What the fuck is Robert talking about? Also, at the top here, the picture of the runes was found through the Yellow app, and it had been released on the dark web. See here? I heard it on many platforms and private rooms. This is very old news. There were 3. One stood for power, one for God, and one for communication. It was told to several of us. The picture of the runes was found through the Yellow app, released on the dark web. They were shown through the Yellow app. The parts that make up the lines to the F are not straight. There were 3 left, and the symbols and blood were uploaded online in a very evil, dark place. Okay? And then what do we have here? We have law enforcement saying, searching for people who may have communicated with the profile Anthony Schatz on a social media app called Yellow, which is now known as Yubo. What does Yubo or Yellow have to do with this crime? What does Yubo or Yellow have to do with post-crime? And by that I mean crime scene photos. Delphi Weird Stuff, Part 26. All right, this is from the lunatic Laura. This is a screenshot that Tara sent me. It's her, Thomas Frost, Chris Long, and Jinx Courtney. I know Silky Southern is not okay with this. Her name is Lily. She's very perplexed when I showed her this and wondered why she was brought up. Were they trying to recruit her because they thought she would have similar beliefs when she doesn't? And by that I infer white supremacy. Her and I have thought this was a weird setup from the beginning. Tara has made some mistakes being naive and young and trusting the wrong people, but at the same time she is smart and deserves protection. They have gotten her kicked out of her med school. And on this live stream tonight, I backed them into a corner because they are lying. And I got them to admit they are not speaking on behalf of Galen. By what Thomas Frost is Facebook messaging me now, I have concerns that this whole bank account foundation issue is in regards to kicking Tara out so they could transfer money easier. All this started, too, by Thomas asking her not to say anything about Mark Robert and his GoFundMe. Gina Marie Baudet. Geofencing shows that Libby's phone stopped pinging in the area at 5:44 p.m. on February 13th and began pinging at 4:33 a.m. the morning of the 14th. Within days of the murders, there were locals saying that the perps took the girls to the Mears barn for hours. You see this? This is exactly what independently retired Master Trooper Joe has discussed with me and Noe, that he believes that the girls were taken to the Mears barn, the little white one or gray one, for hours before dumping them at Logan's. Would the geofencing data support that? Is the Mears barn far enough away for Libby's phone to be outside of the pinging area? Of note is that it was 5:30 p.m. when Mike Patty called Tobe to let him know the girls were missing. That was only a 15-minute window before the perps left the area with Libby's phone, then returned the following morning, whereupon somehow the phone ended up under Abby's remains, strategically placed. Do you honestly think that a killer or killers would leave a victim's phone that has captured or potentially captured images of the killers or those involved? Do you honestly think that that killer or those killers would intentionally leave that phone in working condition under the body of one of the victims where it was sure to be found? Edit to add. To make things more odd, Mike Patty told law enforcement who arrived that night that Libby's phone was pinging all over town. Yeah, pinging all over town when it was off from 5:44 to 4:33 and did not ping once. Explain that. This is directly from Tony Klein's very close friend. I had to testify to Detective Vito for 3 hours. I'm telling you, there is a connection. However, it may be closer to KK than TK. This is regarding Richard Allen. Nobody Nothing 1717 says missing girl Kyra Boning. Wasn't she found on Farmers Gravel Road in Clinton County, where they found her van but searched and it wasn't around, and then later found her like 50 feet from the van? I'm sorry, where they found, what he's saying is they searched her van and she wasn't around, but later they found her 50 feet from the van. There's also 3 houses that have been burned in that area. That is close to where I live. And Ted Bear, I'm going to have to ask around. That name sounds really familiar. And if I'm not mistaken, he was a supposed modeling agent taking pictures of underage girls. Don't hold me to the Ted Bear stuff, but I'll have to ask my daughter. I think her friend thought it was legit and had to go talk to ISP over it. Okay, some more weird stuff. Part 27. State of Indiana versus Thomas P. Miller. Charges: sexual misconduct with a minor. Okay. Here you have some Ted Bear. You have Ted Bear. And this is Thomas Miller. This is Ted Bear. Thomas Miller discussing Ted Bear with Anthony Greeno. Ted Bear directly discussing Finding Girls with Anthony Greeno. Ted Bear to Anthony Greeno talking about Tommy Miller, giving him a mattress for the studio. Okay, this is some rumors about Jeff Reagan. Jeff Reagan Greeno's Aunt Susan discussing Adam Dawes or Goff or okay, some more at part 28, same stuff. Where were you? Okay, some Greeno stuff. Emily Ann Sawyer. Okay. Lots of stuff there. Okay, some more of this. Lawyers. I mean, Laura. Some more crazy Laura. All right. Delphi Weird Stuff 29. An email to Doug Carter and Brian Harshman discussing Pamela Guy, Jimmy Russler, the Captain, Amanda Dusek, Leon James Wright, Jericho Bergdorf, Thomas Miller, and Jennifer Barnes Dean. Jennifer Barnes Dean has 19 plus different profiles and different names. Jennifer Dean, Jennifer Barnes Dean, Jennifer Corey Dean. It's wild. But see how Anthony lists her as an employee at his new Flora studio? I know making porn is legal in Indiana, but I also have documentation of Jericho being underage at the time. Anthony talking to a 16-year-old at the time of the Delphi murders, and then Anthony and the whole connection to the girl in South Carolina, Emily Ann Sawyer. Okay. Brian Harshman. Oh, where is it? Okay. No, I've tipped in a lot, but it's overwhelming. But some YouTube sleuthers out there just sent me the pyro pics of Thomas P. Miller and blocked his name out like it was so secretive. I'm the one who found that and sent to redacted. It's public on his Facebook. I found that months ago, and these are people interested in Flora. So I must be right about some things, and my only agenda is to get that information to the right people. If you guys follow social media, Julia seems to be the voice of what I imagine you guys would like the public to know but can't say. I honor you for knowing what you know and have to sit comfortably with while the public thinks they know better and gives crap that more isn't released. The next photos are in regards to minors. This was a Facebook group made by bounty hunters pissed off of Greeno. It was interesting to go back and read in real time now because they were trashing him. And then the Delphi murders happened. His brother and sister get in the group and are begging to know his whereabouts because he was missing at the same time they went missing and didn't show back up for 5 days. Here they discuss with his brother why they don't like him because he has scammed everyone and is talking to a 16-year-old, and his brother admits he was talking to a 16-year-old because her mother called them. And also interesting is how Anthony made cease and desist letters and hate videos towards these two moderators, Jeremiah Fitzgerald and someone else. Both died within 2 months of each other. I was only able to access this private group because Emily Ann Sawyer, the girl who gashed her leg open requiring 12 staples, who suspiciously also died in South Carolina, her mother gave me access to her Facebook to try and help tell her story. Okay. I hate to be dramatic, scattered, and annoying with my tips, but recently have been diagnosed with breast cancer. We'll be down and out with serious surgery. So I want to get this known to people. It takes a lot for me and try to put it together in a way a detective needs to see it. I don't have the full picture, but I need to send it in. Also, I've come to trust Tara for many reasons, including that she helped me with my medical situation, so I want to help her. Tara's really under fire. She trusted different groups with different motives. I can be more specific, but our big concern is that they tried to get her off the bank account for the Flora Foundation. I listened to a recording of this woman, Kathy Clendenning, who was her best friend, speak to Tara in ways that is beyond the 99th percentile wacko. Tara made a police report and got the foundation account back. Because Kathy knew someone at the bank and succeeded to kick Tara off and hack the account. They have kicked up in the last week and freaked out Tara, or on Tara, and I'm wondering if it's all because all of a sudden they're afraid of the leaks. It's just such a suspicious path between Mark Robert to Fortson to Westerman. Too convenient that someone was just in the middle is now gone. Chris Long of Indie Archives is also part of the harassment. He lives near Roy Baumeister's old property and has a private plane that apparently only flies to Florida and back. He apparently also trades silencers. He also tried to tell Tara about his LE leak that was giving him Delphi pics and pics of the Florida girls' bodies laid on the floor of the station. She tipped all that in. But I tipped in about a month ago how the Make-A-Wish thing with Cohen was odd. And there may be an exchange of money. So that was 2 months ago. And just past the past 2 days, they're kicking it up about it now and destroying Meow's platform, possibly because they think she will expose something. Either they already wanted to hide something that was done, or they really want her off because funneling money through a charitable nonprofit, no taxable account is much easier than Bitcoin. And then they know there's not a chance Tara would allow it. Tara also told me things about them since they have disowned her. Jinx, aka Courtney Barris, and Chris Long were in trouble for domestic terrorism, something with the IRA and bomb threats. I'm also adding Hoosier cold cases or James Leon Wright's Intellius report. I pulled it again recently, and Tara was shocked and said that one part means he's being monitored on the domestic terrorist list. Good evening. I am tagging i.gov in this email since he has been extremely helpful to our resident community in a past situation before. And I just found a way that this connects with Indy and Delphi. In some, at River Crossing Apartments in Indy during COVID, Brian Enia from Kokomo, whose father is in LE, was living in a prepaid for apartment here and running a meth prostitution business. I monitored and reported the activity and comings and goings, tipped it in places, and told the apartment complex, and nothing was done. I was finally directed to Officer Daggy, and he jumped right on it and was going to get one of his guys to figure out where her site was listed. Not sure what happened, but after 3 months of reporting, it was taken care of in the next 2 days. Anyway, Harshman should be up to speed with my tips if they are at all important. Part of this takes place in Indianapolis and connects to Florida, Indiana. People who could possibly be connected to the Anthony_Shots account for the Delphi murders or otherwise sexual encounters with minors. On Anthony Greeno's computer, to which Jerry Holman and Vito said they were extremely interested in getting from the ex-girlfriend's family in Florida, but have not followed up with making arrangements in weeks, I found connections to him working for Craig Warren Larkins, or Warren Asher, also of Paducah, Kentucky, owns Flora Building with secret basement. Attached is the report that connects how I found them, or him, to Sultry DVDs. Sultry DVDs originated in Indianapolis, and as you can see in the attachments, Thomas P. Miller is arranging for Anthony Greeno to get keys to a florist storefront to start getting girls and making money. The site has been taken down, but I spent tons of time researching and found things on the Wayback Machine. Aaliyah Martin is without a doubt one of the actors of Sultry DVDs. I found her current site. Possibly someone could be sent undercover and then get info on what they were running out of Flora and Carroll County. Also attached are other sites she had listed with disturbing, hypnotizing videos and casting call shit. And lastly, I understand that making porn in Indiana is legal, but there is reason to believe that it may involve children, given the 5 inches or less page, and using terms boy, girl, girl on girl, and saying that a man won't have his face in the shot. But every other category says male, female, and your face must be in it. All right. And part 30. I don't know how to begin to tip some of this in a logical order. So I'm going to start with the biggest. Is this Mark Robert Cohen connected to Anthony? See photo below. Thomas Frost told Tara a while back it was. Now he's flirting with me or some shit, and he denied it. And he's telling me how close he is to Mark Robert, and he was afraid he was going to be in court documents, and that he only has 2 people, and that he was only 2 people away from Baldwin. I can send those screenshots later. But Greeno is what Greeno is, if they are connected. I don't know what that would mean. Then is the next picture Mitch Westerman. This was footage from the Abbey and Libby benefit ride that left from the Kitley Inn in 2021. Anthony was there to film despite the families hating him. I came at 12 as his daughter was staying with me, needed a place to stay. Also, Hoosier Code cases, or James Leon Wright was there. He hates Anthony, but Anthony got him to apologize on camera, and he bragged that the captain stepped in. And then he took his whole channel down. Then later, when we were in a car, Jillian and I were joking, who's this captain guy, a mob boss? How did he get James to take down all his YouTube videos about you and apologize? He said he just called him up and yelled at him. Okay. Now here's some links. Move-in tour with the Flores studio explains how how he will set up the store and his plans. He moves in late October. Kyra Bonin, the girlfriend from out of town, Mark Green, Fat Kid Inc., across the street, goes missing right around this time. Her car is found. Van. And Super Duper investigator team of Anthony Greeno, Michael Katz, Stroop, and Randy Gravitz start covering her disappearance right away. Randy accidentally slipped up on a recording when talking about Kyra and called it her murder, not suicide. Her body was found outside of her van 4 days later, and it was called a suicide, 50 feet away. Anthony had gotten a ticket that exact night. Many people think he was coming back from dumping her body. Okay, next tour, moving in a little, and that's here. Shows a basement but doesn't go up there. Shows distinct K9 Warren Asher, or AAA Craig Warren Larkins. Has a store right to the left. You see Jericho, who was a minor at the time and has told people he did sexual stuff with Anthony at the storefront. Then Thomas P. Miller is the one that hooked him up with the keys to the place from Warren, and he's in the video in blue. Okay. Right here. Who was this whole crew they hung out with, and what was their plan? This was in 2016. How did they get this house, and who was all going to live in it? And what were they planning on doing? It says in the description of the video some of the names that were tagged. Corrado Reynolds is also the person seen in the video. Is this who is this G.W. Welsh guy that pops up all the time, and he films horror things in Vegas? See? And filmed the horror movie Hungry Eyes out of Kokomo in 2016. All these issues with his phones taken, and some they gave back, but in other stories they didn't. Then later he says that Anthony Shots is on his phone. After Delphi, he has meth and chemical burns all over his body. He returns to Folly Beach and, in my opinion, tries to continue an Anthony Shots or Silver DVD's business out of Folly Beach. I've tipped in these videos as well as photographs of extremely young girls, and what I've learned from the murder sheet is child erotica, but it gives a way to book a session. Okay. Raccoon video. It sucks to watch, but do for the justice of the raccoon. Why is there laughing and enjoyment? Fake swing 1, fake swing 2, or get the shot in the light. That's the money shot. They didn't kill it quickly. They want to see it convulsing and twitching and concussing as Anthony laughs. He gets more angles and says, they don't know the difference. Who is they? Okay, Kelly Aaron, or Kelly Brown, who was very disgusting and rude to Emily Ann Sawyer. Once she was able to escape from Anthony Greeno, who sliced her leg open like a fillet, and she was just started to tell her mom things. That Anthony said he killed the girls, but she didn't believe it at the time because she said if he did, why would he tell her? Kelly keeps writing Emily's mom to see when Emily will start talking. She wants to know what she knows. Unfortunately, Robin, her mother, has had a series of 11 strokes, and Emily Ann suspiciously hung herself only 3 months later and had been in contact with Anthony that whole time. So anyway, that's a whole different series of videos, but Kelly Aaron sent this and had the following quote. Sent this to Emily Ann Sawyer's mom saying, this is what I imagine Bridge Guy's saying in his head as this happened. It's almost therapeutic but frightening. So people are just weird, I guess. Okay. Weird Shit Part 30. This is number 3 of 5. James Leon Wright goes by HCC because of his YouTube channel name. Hoosier Code Cases is the leaker person from a while back. This may not be important, or you may already know it, but it pains me to know this man used me for information and blocked anything important I found and now created a circus. I learned of this info while having connected with Redacted. and one other person because of the work she puts out and all of the connections I found with Thomas P. Miller, Craig Warren Larkins, aka Warren Asher, who has since undergone some kind of plastic surgery on his nose since the murders. More recently, I found out Thomas is the son of Jennifer Barnes Dean and a self-proclaimed pyro. Craig's 3 channels. Looks like his wife left him, and he looks more emaciated as time goes by. My concerns are that Leon and his group are tried to use me to pump me for information and get Anthony's computer. Turns out I wasn't the one who had it. His girlfriend in Florida did, but they wanted the information on it so much. Is there any way your IT team would want the computer now? To see what HCC specifically would have deleted. I know one time after I questioned someone about why they don't seem to be moving forward with their info, I was told, probably in a way to get me to shut up about other stuff, that they thought the video of the deaths might be on there. I was also, what I also added is a conversation that I sent Leon right away when the first RA Younger pic came out. There was one that Anthony had looked like him. Now I think it was this guy R.D. Campbell who died, but I checked first and his response was unusual. He didn't deny at all that it could be him, and instead gave an explanation to try to make it rationale as to why Anthony would have one younger photo of Richard Allen on his computer before Richard Allen was ever named. Okay. And this is 4 of 5. Also same bunny head. This is Whoosier the Bruisier, hated by Anthony and the Captain, aka Douglas J. Venable. He went to Delphi for the Bacon Fest 2019 as Anthony was feuding with him, and Anthony didn't show up. But he makes this whole video almost like he's been threatened, so he needs to come out and say he can now see why the bodies weren't found the night before. He's also the hashtag TCT4K guy. He made up with Anthony and the Captain. There's a tribute video of him taking shots with the Captain, and he died of natural causes. When this first group and I were putting together a whole list of suspicious deaths surrounding people involved in this case, and Anthony said, "Oh yeah, add Whoosier the Bruisier." And Leon James Wright's immediate response was, "No, not him." And I said, "What do you mean not him?" And he goes, "No, he really did die of natural causes." Then later I heard Anthony tell people he died of a heart attack. Remember how I shared earlier about what he told Roby Williams, Emily Ann's mother, about the best way to kill someone so it shows up as a heart attack? Okay, good evening. I'm tagging John Daggy at nd.gov in this email since he has been extremely helpful to our resident community in a past situation before, and I just found a way that this connects with Indy and Delphi. Okay. Oh, I think I've read this before. Okay. So let's stop here. This will be our last one. Let's see. Actually, let's check the chat before we continue, because I think we're almost 2 hours. All right, guys. So I think we'll stop there. I really do, because we're going on to 2 hours, and I wanted to stop at 2 hours. So apologize. I know that was a rather long bit of reading, but that catches us up to number 30, the Delphi Weird Shit series. So the next edition will be hitting starting at 31. All right, so I'm going to back up a bit. Let's see. I know I have a lot of comments here. Probably won't get to them all. But thank you guys for sticking around for the extended foray into the Weird Shit series. All right, so let's back on up. Let's see, find a place to start. Yeah, I knew we'd have a bunch of trolls come in and invade because of the material. So every time they do that, just so you trolls know and you chat members know, every time they do that, that's your signal right there that this is shit. That the reason they're coming in trolling is because this is the exact stuff they don't want you watching. So go read the entire Weird Shit series. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, I was positive they would come in. That's why I wasn't reading the chat. I would not have been able to do both. Let's see. I'm going to back it up a bit. And let's go here. I think this is about the time I transitioned from the filing to the weird stuff. Okay. Abbey photo used for Snapchat forgery is from a Monticello hotel. Noted. All right. It's a God thing. Okay. And I don't know why he's asking this. Alexis Snowberger related to Max? I don't know. I don't know. Oh, finish the coffee. That means we got to finish. Okay. Sunflower Soul says, how did they get the pick from Grandpa? Yeah. I don't know how. I don't know the provenance of that Grandpa pick. Throwing the ball. Okay. ACV, welcome. Welcome, ACV says, I joined 5 seconds ago. It's already really weird. Okay, the cell phone tower is across the street from Ron Logan's. Strange that Becky Patty was testing for pings just before the phone was turned off. Was she looking for the girls or making sure it stopped pinging? Yeah, it's also funny that she mentioned Brad Holder within days of the murders, isn't it? It's also odd at the reactions at the Richard Allen arrest press conference in October. Remember that press conference? Look at the faces of the Patties, both directly at the after the press conference and also at their home in the driveway. Okay. Another oddity in the beginning is how quickly they got the huge billboards up on major interstates. Why wasn't the phone ringing between 3:30 and 5:40? I don't think anyone's ever mentioned that. We always talk about 5:40 and later, but why was the phone not ringing? All right. Oh, another thing. Yeah, Westy. Welcome, Westy. West says, amazing how appearing bodies magically appear at the searched location. I will remind you, you know what? Because I hate not showing the receipts. You know me, I show the damn receipts like no one else. Try to find this receipt from Eric Williams. Eric Williams, who said, I'm a country boy and I'm here to tell you, we searched that area. Remember that receipt? I'm going to have to go to my Eric Williams folder. Take a second. Let's see. Where are my folders? Okay, Eric Williams. Sometimes you got to have an Eric Williams folder, guys. I mean, and you think I'm kidding? You'll find out soon. Sometimes you got to have an entire folder. So I got my Eric Williams folder here. Let's see. See if I can pull this to. Which one is it? Sorry about the. I forgot to turn my ringer off there. Well, I may be failing to find this particular screenshot. Let's see. But you all know the shot, okay? You all know that. You all know that screenshot where Eric Williams says, "I'm here to tell you, I'm a country boy, and them girls were not there." Okay, that's what he said. And I just apologize that I'm not better at finding it at this moment, even though I'm searching my folder. There's so much to find, but I probably skipped over it. But I guess I'll not have a receipt for this particular quote, but you know it's out there, and we will find it. Okay, I'll find it at some other point. But Eric Williams attests that he searched the area, and he's a country boy, and he knows that he searched that area because he's a country boy. All right. There were injunctions filed to prevent certain cell data from being extracted from very important phones. Were injunctions filed? I didn't see that, but I don't know. I know one thing. With everything missing, how do you know if important things were extracted from phones that has been permanently lost now because the phone is gone and the extraction is gone? That's how you cover up a crime. Okay, they were making sure. Garrett and Greeno were missing for 5 days. Yes, in a meth-induced, spice-induced stupor and freaking out. All right. All right. Hello, Bjorn. Bjorn says hello. Chevy Killer says, ACB, what's up? How are you doing? Cromley says, what's up? Welcome to everyone who's come in late. Welcome to everyone. I'm sorry I didn't get you earlier, but we had a lot of reading today, so I'm burned out. But thanks, everyone, for coming into the chat. I appreciate that. Is a God thing? Yes. In one of those contradictory interviews, maybe the one he tells. Oh, let's see. What are you looking for? What are we looking for? You're talking about Mike Patty having Holcomb's number? All right. Sorry for taking long to get back. Crystal Blue says dogs had to go out, but bull moose still standing in my garden. Okay. Kelsey did have a, here's what I've witnessed with my own eyes. Yes, Kelsey had a Facebook for a photography startup endeavor, but she definitely removed it. So let's go back, see if I can find this one. This idiot. The trolls come in. You know they love to come in. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Diamond Eyes, for sniping the troll farm. ACV says, "What's up?" Okay, so Kyle Stacy's, "What's up, Mike?" Kyle Stacy's girlfriend post came and saved him February 15th, took him to her place. Honestly, I love the Wayback Machine, have for a long time. Internet Archive. Telling Doug, oh, that's Derek German telling the Patties he'd be thinking of them. Oh, that's Doug? You mean DC, Doug Carter? Telling the Patties he'd been thinking of them while taking his last breath. Yes. All right. All right, you guys, thank you for your comments. I'm just going to move on through. Thank you. It's a God thing. I see a little super chat popping up. Thank you. I'll get to that. I'm trying to catch up with everyone. Let's see. Makes me sick. My ex brought the kids around, did most the first makeup and opening scene. That zombie second one turned was me. If you knew where to look, ones that filmed back to that ring now. Oh, I see what you mean. You're talking about the film that was being discussed in the emails. Yeah, I see you. I see you. Oh, you fucking idiots. The trolls will come in. That's what they'll do. They'll come in every time that something important is being discussed. That's our signal. So thanks, trolls. Thanks for marking this particular live stream as important for the Delphi Murders truth community. We're truthers here for the Delphi Murders. When is the next decode? I would say next week or so. Thank you, ACV, for asking. All right, let's see. Funny, they wasn't chatting shit to you and Coach Kev's of criminalities earlier. I don't think the echo chamber likes you being over here. Tell you what, these people are hilarious. They're clowns. I'll need to start from the beginning after the live. Yeah, please do, because we covered this important defense filing earlier today. That's enlightening. It's got some new nuggets that we've never heard before, including that Nicole Robertson was looking for Nordic runes or Norse pagan material in Ron Logan's. Yes, yes, indeed. In March of 2017, FBI was looking for Odinist shit at Ron Logan's. Bet you didn't know that. All right. Okay. Prof, do you have blackout coffee? No, because I like organic, and that blackout's not organic, so it's kind of been aggravating me. I would buy some, but no, I only do our big organic coffee. Kind of a snob, Chevy, so I haven't had it. But what's the one that periodically I do get? That's it's a similar brand. I can't think right now, but it's a similar brand, but they do have an organic couple varieties. But thanks for asking, man. I love the coffee. Okay, fart face. No, fart face is that's Tommy Frost. He's gone. Okay. Okay. Lisa says, ACV, I don't know about Rafi. Yeah, I don't know about Rafi either. I mean, do you notice a pattern, Mr. ACV? You notice a pattern with what happens to people because of a coordinated effort by a certain contingent. They hate their activities are being brought to light. Yeah, they do. Well, thank you, Rebecca. Hey, Rebecca. The probable cause reactions were insane. Which ones? All right. ACB, I'm sure it was his content he was throwing out there. All right, and we say, and I've been saying that for years now. How did Becky Patty know Brad Holder and know of Brad Holder? Why blame it on Brad Holder? Why was she freaked out about Richard Allen? I mean, that's my big question, okay? Why were the Patties absolutely freaked out when they saw Richard Allen or heard the name? Answer that one. Family reiterated many times that Libby lost her phone. Yep. They certainly did, Nancy. You say Mike shut it off? I mean, the timing is odd, isn't it? Yeah, I get your point, Chevy Killer. How did she know to point at Brad Holder? Well, maybe because she knew there were runes on the bodies. Is that what it was? She knew there were runes on the bodies. She knew Brad Holder was into the runes, so she said, "Hey, Brad Holder." All right. I'm trying to catch up with this chat. I apologize, guys. I'm getting there. All right. We know the phone shut off when Mike Patty decided to go to the police. Yeah, and let me ask you this: why did Kelsey German go into Libby's social media accounts and delete shit? Can you explain that? And can we discover what was deleted? I mean, can we have an extraction that would show us what she went in and deleted? I think that would be pretty pertinent to this case, wouldn't you? He was probably just there looking at the fish. Good one, James. He was also prevented from going further. Yes, Eric Williams was. They tried. They tried. Have to bounce. Good night, Frenchie. Good night. Be at peace. We're at the end. Stay in prayer. Stay awesome. Good night, Frenchie. All right. Everyone's saying good night to you, Mister Frenchie 6290, my main man. All right. Mike Patty did say the phone was fucking pinging all over town. Yes, and what about they got our girls? They got our girls. Phone was pinging all over town, but it really wasn't because it was turned off. It wasn't pinging at all. What about the rumor that they were brought over to the Mears property? Hmm? The early rumors about being brought to the Mears, combined with uh, Master Trooper Joe's opinion that that's where they were brought. Good context tonight, Prof. Good night, Prof. Good night, Bobby. All right, this is a God thing. Super chat. Thank you for the super sticker. It's a God thing. Thank you very much. Round of applause. I don't have my party horn anymore. I'd give you one, but all right. Yeah, it didn't have to be this way. That's another one. It didn't have to be this way. I mean, honestly, was were one pardon All right, honestly, were one were one or more girls kidnapped? Was this a kidnapping scenario? Because let me, you see these trolls coming in here, they're showing us that we're on the right track. Okay, so on this, were those girls, were one or both kidnapped? Because let me read something to you. I've posted this before on the community page, and you guys really, I'm not scolding you at all, but oftentimes you don't really read the things that I post thoroughly enough or understand enough, so I have to reiterate. So let's go back to this briefly. The Big Lebowski is a 1998 independent crime comedy film written and produced and directed by Joel and Ethan Coen, starring Jeff Bridges as Jeffrey Lebowski, a Los Angeles slacker and avid bowler. He is assaulted as a result of mistaken identity. He then learns that a millionaire, also named Jeffrey Lebowski, David Huddleston, was the intended victim. Okay, so let me stop there. Jeff Bridges, a slacker, is assaulted because of mistaken identity, mistaken for Huddleston. The millionaire Lebowski's trophy wife is kidnapped, and millionaire Lebowski commissions the other Jeff Lebowski, Jeff Bridges, to deliver the ransom to secure her release. The plan goes awry when Jeff Lebowski's friend, John Goodman, and remember, Goodman is a Masonic epithet, schemes to keep the ransom money for Lebowski and himself. The film is loosely inspired by the work of Roman Chandler. Joe Cohen stated, "We wanted to do a Chandler kind of story, how it moves episodically and deals with characters trying to unravel a mystery, as well as having a hopelessly complex plot that's ultimately unimportant." Okay? So basically, what this is that I'm reading from is the Wikipedia page from the Big Lebowski, and I've underlined some thoughts, some ideas, some concepts, some memes. Okay, hopelessly complex, ultimately unimportant, unravel a mystery, Goodman, kidnapped, ransom, Huddleston, Bridges, assaulted, mistaken identity, slacker. Anyhow, were the girls kidnapped? Was there a ransom? Is that why we got phrases like "they got our girls" pinging all over town? It didn't have to happen like that. All right. Prof, I love you for your commend you for your honesty and factual content. Thank you, Bobby Smith. It's opinion, ultimately. Yes, Cromley, absolutely, but it stops when he went to the police station and turns back on after he was. Yes. Diamond Eyes is the queen of mods. Okay. Fair Maiden, you are welcome to the channel. Yes, Fair Maiden, you are. For Baby Daddy, we're all professional troll hunters. Fair Maiden says peachy. Blackout coffee is awesome, Prof. I believe you. I mean, come on, tell them to make me an organic blend and I'll purchase it in my next trip. Marianne Foster, were there 2 search warrants for Ron Logan's property, or is that rumor? I haven't seen 2. I haven't seen 2 searches. There was this is a thing that people never understood when I resisted Ron Logan as being involved. Have you seen the footage of some of the activity during Ron Logan's search, or the exercising of his search warrant? I mean, they turned that place inside out. There was a whole group of guys, and they were going in and out of every aspect of that property: the horse barns, the garages, the garage, the house. They turned that house upside down, inside out. They did not find the knife. Okay, they did not find anything connecting him to the crime. All rumors aside, absolutely nothing. Okay, Ron Logan's place was turned inside out. Absolutely nothing. When it comes to the girls or the crime committed on his property. So if all you got is the fact that he did not tell the truth about driving to the dump, I mean, what is that really? What is that really? Okay, so you got that, and then you got the fact that he kind of looks like Bridge Guy, and then you got the fact that he kind of harbored Garrett Kurtz around and kind of was friends with the Kleins, friends of the family. So you got all you have is some very loose circumstantial Ron Logan. I don't know. I'm not big on Ron Logan, as you know. Okay. You say Mike shut. Oh, there's kind of a consensus in the chat that lots of people are saying Mike shut it off. I won't make that declaration. I won't say that. Do we know who? I would say whoever did harm to the girls, turn that phone off and turn the phone back on. Okay. That's my opinion. Whoever hurt those girls is the same group that turned the phone off and turned the phone back on. How she know unless she knows what was on the body? Yeah, well, obviously she knew. Or they set someone up who was into runes. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Was the whole thing with Ron Logan and Brad Holder a setup? Was it a double setup? I mean, you ever thought of that, a double setup? Think of the double setup. The double setup, you say, hey, we'll set up 2 people. We'll set up Ron Logan in this manner, and we'll set up Brad Holder in this manner. I mean, that's a potential too. It's a double setup. Fail safe. Prof, you're awesome. Thank you for your research, organization, data, reporting. Much appreciated. Much appreciated for the nice comment, James. I'm glad to have the time to do this when I do. Apologize, it's not more often, but I've been taking care of things, very busy, making good. Okay. No offense to non-bummy Delphi residents. I'm definitely referring to a specific group of bum chump. All right. It didn't have to be this way. Who got their girls exactly, Becky? That's my question. Yeah. Who has your girls? Kelsey, she was pretending she was Libby. Yes, which may have put her in danger. Yes. Yeah, there's a whole lot of messing around with those phones, and then to go and delete it all, like to not know what she deleted is highly questionable. That should be looked at. You're most appreciated. So are you. Is a God thing. Thank you. Mike Patty directing the grid search that people were assigned to. Now that's highly, the whole thing with the canoe and the grid search, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. She would have seen her money that was being deposited. Okay. They got our girls. Who is they? Who is they? Who is they? In gematria, get out of here. Get out of here. They've got our girls as 213. There's no way. Yeah, of course it is. Okay, Sandy, what is gematria for promise not to tell? Sandy, what is please trust us? DC said on the same show. Okay, big thing for numbers. Imagine many desperate people know the Patties had money. Gematria for today's the day. Yeah, I mean, well, what if it's a bunch of meth heads? What if a bunch of meth heads like want to steal money from the Patties? So they say, we're going to kidnap Libby. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Today is the day was a crash. Cow. Yeah, it was. What's up, Criminal Network? Today is not the day. Yesterday was today. Is it time to put is it time to put all the phrases through gematria, ladies and gentlemen? Sandy D, you have homework for the next 2 weeks. Every phrase through gematria. Go. That's right. It's a God thing, and remember, a sketch is not the same. A sketch is a sketch. Is a sketch. Is a God. A sketch is a photograph. What is all of that, Doug? Come on. The dogs were called off to not follow the guilty people aiding more than one day. That's what I think. There was a dog. I mean, we've got photos of a dog. We know there was a dog, but the dogs, the dogs that were not internal to Carroll County, the external help dogs, those are the dogs called off. There were two separate searches. The first search was for probation violation, and the second search was separate concerning the girls. They just said in court last week that they found a sweater. Where did they find a sweater? There was an undocumented search on the 14th in the evening. There was a search at Bicycle Bridge Road. There was a search at the Maxwell House. Found a sweater where, though? They found a sweater, but not one of the girls, right? What do you mean? A random sweater? What relevance does a sweater have? Arsons, murders of LE, FBI, kids, and no mention of it now. Yeah, murders of law enforcement, FBI. Yeah, Greg Ferenczi, Stephanie Thompson. Remember, Kat Cole was murdered. There's been kids. No mention of it now. Richard Allen must have reached all these murders surrounding this case. Good point. Thank you, Missy Brooks. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, well that means bullshit. No, that means bullshit. If it's an inference from law enforcement that the sweater is one that Bridge Guy was wearing, that means it's a bullshit. It's all they try to do is build this house of cards. That's what I call the false tableau. They create this false tableau to try to prop this case up. So that would be part of it. That would be part of it. You find some random sweater. I mean, they could have found a random blue jacket that is not the blue jacket, but it's like anybody in jeans. They could find some jeans. They could find some boots. I mean, anything they find, they can try to build into something. You know. But thank you for, I hadn't heard that yet. Wow. Bicycle Road was Maxwell's. That was Tara German's erroneous tip. Well, but where did they search 7 times? Where did they search? Or approximately 7 times. Kay Weber's. Kay Weber's. All over that bathroom. I mean, the real story is all they turned that bathroom inside out, and they searched the garage some. But the inside scoop that I have is that they were highly interested in the bathroom at Kay Weber's. Okay. Yes, Nicole Robertson. Now we know that she was looking for runes or anything Nordic, and that's a huge bombshell. Ron knew too much. He told them if they tried to pin it on him, he would take them all down. Yeah. Well, that's the thing with Delphi. I mean, that's the whole thing with everyone surrounding Delphi. I hate to say it. I hate to be so mean. Look, I try not to be mean here. I really try not to, but the whole thing with everyone surrounding Delphi, the Delphi murders, is you got a whole bunch of this right here. Too many people know too much to take them all down. And by that, I mean judges are going to go down, sheriffs are going to go down, mayors, the whole structure. Okay. The whole pyramid, the whole Masonic pyramid would crumble. That's the problem with Delphi. That's why it's not solved. Can tell that was deleted. Can they tell? Yeah, that by extracting the phones. But the problem is, has that been done with due diligence, or is it all a cover-up? Ron Logan was bridge guy. Believe the FBI before you believe elected sheriff Tony Liggett. We are just beginning. We're just beginning. Yeah, don't trust people in the funny outfits like me. All right. Unknown as in the person has no record off DNA. Unknown as if can't decipher animal or human. Always had me wonder. I think because it's a mixture of DNAs that are partial. I don't know. It's bad DNA. But you know what's odd? What about the rumor of the fingerprint that was left carelessly, quote unquote, on the top of a car, and when the officer drove off, permanently lost the one fingerprint you had? You ever hear about the fingerprint? What is your opinion on the fingerprint? Doesn't it smell of corruption? Doesn't it smell of a cover-up? What if the fingerprint was the only absolute forensic solid thing that they collected, and that fingerprint had to disappear? They had to disappear it, just like they had to disappear a bunch of the first week of interviews, and they had to disappear 70 days of the investigation. What if they had to disappear that fucking fingerprint? Pardon my language. Okay. Okay. Oh, you're getting real conspiratorial here. Doug Carter's voice sounds something similar to a resemblance of Bridge Guy's voice, or so I've always thought. Nice one. Touche. Touche. Ron Logan had guns, yet he wasn't charged as a felon in possession of a firearm. Yeah, another little birdie told me he actually had, it is rumored that he had a similar sig to Richard Allen, and isn't it also an odd coincidence that that Brad Weber had a exact model sig as Richard Allen. I mean, how many coincidences? There's two of everything in this murder. Good night, Chevy. You say shit love. All in the chat. Have a great night. Prophet chat. You guys are awesome as always. Bring awareness. Good night, Chevy Killer. Peace out. We're ending soon too. We love you. Let's see. How are y'all doing? What's up, Redneckzilla? Good old Jeff W. 2Fs. All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's see. FBI voice analysis stated Ron Logan was bridge guy and the voice heard saying down the hill. Interesting. Garage and bathroom. Makes me think that the bathroom, they were looking for blood evidence. So, you know, what would you infer? That if they're searching feverishly in the bathroom, you would assume they're looking for blood evidence, maybe blood reflectivity or something. But it's the same with Kelsey German. I mean, 7 interviews. I mean, 6. So I'll leave it at that. Just like they would go and search the property 7 times because they think something's there, why do you think they would question Kelsey 7 times? Yes. Yeah, little Joe Lewis did. Yeah. I think I'm getting close to the catch-up, y'all. All right, so some type of autoimmune complications mess up DNA. I believe the bodies were moved with the flow of the current south of Ron Logan's property to the dump site where they were staged with the bodies. Possible. I wish I knew. Okay. Very suspicious. Smells of corruption. Good old boys have gotten away with it many times before. They didn't expect to have the world watching, and that's why they're freaking out right now, because they know that there's a problem afoot here. The CVS worker who was in pharmacy school at the time of the murders also has a license to sell guns from Delphi with the Fed case that is sealed. Yeah, Ron had a ton of guns. Yeah, Brad's. But what model? What model 40 caliber was it? That I don't know. No DNA, no fingerprints, no geofencing, but an amazing video and recording. Yes. Well, they do have geofencing, but now your prosecutor, your state doesn't want to allow the fucking geofencing. I mean, is this like Twilight Zone? Is this Inside Out world? When does a prosecutor not want to use the digital forensics? I mean, digital forensics make or break cases. Come on. I mean, dude. I mean, it's Inside Out world. All right, so yeah, the Weber is who I was meaning. They took his sig. They took his sig. True story. Let me put that up here. Okay. Oh yeah, she freaked out on the Franks. She freaked out on the Franks motions. She's wielding that pen. She is. She just in a broad stroke, just deny. But, what else do you expect? They're setting up for an amazing appeal, which is terrible because if he is guilty and he's found guilty, don't you want it to stick? Good night. It's a God thing. We're ending as well, so we're going to end it. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you for the super chat and the wonderful things, and also thank you, Just James. Just James became a member, so thank you, James, for the membership. Um, good night, Cromley. Good night. Yeah, I'm going to strike out of here too. Okay, I'm going to strike out of here. Yeah, upside down world. Yeah, imagine. Imagine they allow cameras. Becky Patty will start a petition to not allow cameras. Yeah, you guys do remember the don't release anything petition. Wisdom. I miss Julia. Julia. I miss Julia. Julia too. Poor thing. She was. Anyway. Let's see. Yeah, she was your best content, pretty much. She was. My name is Larry with an upside down L. Well, thank you, James. Thank you. I bet Ron Logan had several box cutters, not a single mention. Exactly. Well, thank you, Criminal Network. And look, while I'm ending, let me just say to everyone, please hit the like before you leave, before the show's over. Please hit the like. If you want to contribute to the channel, I invite you to. That's a given. You know so. Um, there's several ways you can do the Cash App or the Super Chats or the merchandise or the Buy Me a Coffee. I always forget to say Buy Me a Coffee, but I still have that. Anyway, thank you so much for being here, for contributing to the chat and having a nice discussion. Went a little longer than I thought, but not too much, about 40 minutes longer than I thought. But it was good. I was very happy to see this document. I would urge you to seek it out and to go and download it to read it for yourself. Also, please check out the community page where I have uh, all of the things that I find important to myself. I post on the community page for you all. So please check out that community page. Like I said, hit the like on the way out. And thanks again for joining the chat. I really appreciate seeing the new faces as well as our regulars here. Our longtime members are super awesome. Everyone with the wrench who's been here for more than a year, I just love you all. And it's so good to see you guys and new faces coming in. So thanks, everyone. Let's see. Kindly smash that like. Yes, please do so. Julia, though. Yeah, poor thing. I miss her. And she was great content. And thank you, Lisa. All right. Well, let me say hello to or goodbye to everyone while we're here. Let's see. We'll say K West. Thank you and good night, Westy. Criminal Network, thanks for being here. Digital, thanks for being here. Lisa, Chevy Killer, Sandy D, Nancy Drew 101. Did I say digital? Missy Brooks, Diamond Eyes, Wisdom Sleuth, Redneck Zilla, Just James, Lisa is a God thing, and maybe it's easier on the computer to, on the iPad to look at your names. Let's see. Sandy D, Marianne Foster, Fair Maiden Win, Libra Scales, Cromley Lux RE. Wow. Iva Apophis. Who else? I've said Sandy. Fur Baby Daddy. I don't want to miss you, Don't want to miss you. Um, I'll say Diamond Eyes again for being super awesome. Bobby Smith was here. Frenchie6290 was here. Crystal Blue Persuasion was here. And, everyone else who I haven't named, thanks for being in the chat. And even those of you lurking, thanks for the lurk. Appreciate it. And yeah, check out the community page and try to go check out Delphi Docs. If you need documents from any of these filings, you can often easily find them on the Reddit Delphi Docs page. And that way you can read them for yourself and see what strikes you as noteworthy. Yeah, and Rafi, we'll see Rafi again. He's just taking a break. We all need breaks, don't we? We all need breaks. So take your breaks. Uh, it's okay. God wins. God got this. And everything's going to work out. There will be justice for Abby and Libby. And that justice will be truth coming out for the girls. And truth will come out for the girls. It's already leaking out. Okay, so this truth will come out for the girls. You guys don't fret. Don't be concerned. Put your trust in God, the Almighty. He's got this. Truth always rises to the surface, and truth will rise to the surface for these girls. And I love you, and I love them, and that's no doubt. And even my little bud here on the other side of this wall, he loves these little girls just from hearing the story and seeing the photos. So anyway, God bless you all, and we'll see you again. Tomorrow is our Friday, so I do intend to do our Friday night party. So I hope to see you tomorrow night. So come on back tomorrow night, and we'll have a good time. All right, good night, y'all.